Morning, everybody, and aloha. Welcome to Just Talking 24, page 34. We had a very eventful week this week. On Tuesday, we had a tsunami warning. Not an alert, not an advisory. It was a warning. Yep, the wave was coming in. And I'd like to go over that. And it inspired what happens. And the same thing that happened pretty much happened when we had the false North Korean nuclear scare. If you're not familiar with it, it happened on January the 13th, 2018. It was a Saturday morning, and at about 7:30 in the morning, we had an alarm go off in on most of our phones. Okay, you know me, I got my flip phone. It don't go off. It don't even. I'm not tied up to the internet, or I don't text. I don't do anything. So I didn't get one. But and when I'm working, and I was working, it was a Saturday morning, and I was working in critical care, and the phones went off. And when I work, I don't put my phone on. That's just a habit that I have. If you want me, call me at work. You have my numbers. Call me. But what happened was there was an alarm that went off, and I've like I told you, I never heard that alarm before because I never heard our phones go off. I mean, in ICU and CCU, you get you hear alarms all the time, pumps, beds, whatever, monitors. But anyway, um, the alarm went off, and everybody's looking at their phone. So I asked one doctor, what's up? And he told me we're under attack from North Koreans. Even now, I gotta laugh. And I started laughing. I go, what kind of attack? Nuclear attack. They fired a ICBM at us. They fired an nuclear ICBM at Hawaii. Yeah. Okay. And I told him it's BS. Except I used the whole word. I don't like vulgarity, but and I told him it's bullshit. And he said, "No, it says it's not a drill." I said, "I don't care what it says. It's bull." And then I went along, and I was doing my duties, and I finished it up. And people, they were just freaking. They were just, man, they were mesmerized by their phones. And about 40 minutes later, the alarm went off again. I said, "What? The rocket almost here?" And he goes, "Oh, it was a false alarm." And he looked at me, and I looked at him. And I said, "Don't you hate it when I'm right?" You know me and sarcasm. You know me and sarcasm. I will just, I'll call a duck a duck. In other words, hey, you stupid. But um, naive. They just don't understand the how inaccurate an ICBM is. That's why the U.S. really doesn't lean on its ICBMs anymore. We have cruise missiles that we showed we can go into the same hole every time after time after time, and that's what really took Russia and China aback. It's like, whoa, suckers can actually do that, and we showed that we could. But anyway, but what happened were the people panicked. There was gridlock on the freeway, accidents all over the place. People were putting their kids into the storm drains in the subdivisions to keep them, I guess, safe from radio fallout. All it does is just put them together in an oven, so they'll be nice and cooked when the authorities find them. But they don't see that. They don't know that our drainage ditches are perfect conductors for heat. But anyway, almost the same thing happened this past Tuesday. The National Oceanographic and Aerospace Agency (NOAA) NOAA came out with that report, and they said they were expecting the first wave to hit at 7:10 p.m. on Kauai because it was Kauai's the northmost, and it'll work its way down. So um, people automatically, panic, and they all try to go home at the same time. And our roadways in Hawaii, okay, we don't build our highways and you know, our freeways and our major roadways away from the coast, because the flatter the area, the easier to build. Okay, so where are the roads? Right next to the beach. You know, so say it was a 25-foot, wave came in. Yeah, everybody's stuck on the road, and where are they? Right next to the water. You know, um, one of the meeting points, or the evacuation points, is the Alawai clubhouse. Well, the clubhouse is literally 5 feet above the Alawai Canal. 5 feet. So if the water surge is just 6 feet, that means you get water inside there. And then you get all these hundreds of people in this confined area. And the reason, I think, like my friend asked me, why would they use the Alawai clubhouse? I said, because you got to get on, central gathering point for all the bodies. And that's exactly what's going to happen. You can find all these bodies trapped in there because they were told to go in there by our government. Kidneys, folks, kidneys. But that's what this. So, are we really getting our bang for the buck? That's what this week is. Bang for the buck, value for your dollar. Noah says that because of, well, the claims have been coming in because of Trump's budget cuts, which haven't taken effect because they don't understand that the money they're spending this year was allotted in last year's budget, because you don't pay the bill after the service. You pay the bill before the service. That's how government works. So the budget that they passed last year is going to pay this year. So his cuts will not take effect until next year. But they don't understand that. People don't, you know, Trump's cuts. And no sense you talk to these people, because then that's a forest moment. Oh, by the way, I have a new word that I use. You know how I say toilet paper, the river, kiss, sharpest tack in the box, and forest? I got number 6, and I had to say it, and it's fidiot. 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 What does fidiot mean? Effing idiot. It goes beyond idiocy. It is so far out there. It's a fidiot. And so I'm going to be using that term. I mean, you can use it too. You idiot. It's like, shut the front door, Yeah. But yeah. So I'm going to try. When you hear me say idiot, that's worse than a total idiot. It's a idiot. But anyway, yeah. So these people are complaining that it's because of Trump's cuts. Yeah, right. But you can't, you can lead a horse to water, except this horse wants to drink beer. But so NOAA, I looked into it, and I mean, you understand how they try to predict the tsunami, right? And you know the difference between a tsunami and a regular wave. Right? A tsunami is, okay. The regular wave is caused by currents or by usually wind currents. Okay, usually by a wind current. Or storm. Yeah, that's why storm systems cause high waves in Hawaii. If we have a storm up in north, it blows a lot, and the energy from the wind hits the water, travels through the water, and becomes a wave. And they're not deep. A current, a wave. In retrospect, it's not a deep energy. A tsunami is energy from the surface to the ocean floor. It is a huge energy. But because of that, it's not a high energy, it's a thick energy. So the wave may be only a foot tall, but it's 4,000 yards thick. That's a lot of water. That's a lot of mass. You can figure it out yourself. How much is a cubic foot of water, and 4,000 feet by 100 feet wide. How much cubic feet you'd have, and that's how much mass you got coming in. Anyway, if you want to be geeky about it, that's the formula. That's the algebraic formula. And the scientists, the part that killed me was that they predicted that the wave would come at 7:10 p.m. Would hit Kauai 7:10. I know I'm emphasizing 7:10 because what's going to happen? All the newscasters are going to go. They're going to Wili Wili Harbor or Hanalei Bay on Kauai, and they're going to shoot pictures. And 7:10 sunset that night was 7 o'clock. So at 7:10 you still got light. So they're gonna be able to see this wave come in. And so TV, the newscasters on and they're backing up, and all these experts are talking on, like they know what they're talking about. 7:10 comes, nothing happens. 7:11 comes, nothing happens. 7:15 comes, nothing happens. 7:30 comes. Oh, they see ripples in the water. Because there was movement. There was slight movement. I mean, they said that the wave was upwards of 4 feet. Now, I don't know how they measure that. Everybody got their own way of measuring. And you're gonna make it the most generous you can to prove your point. Hey, we were right. No, a 4-foot wave hits Hawaii. When actual 4-foot tidal wave were to hit Hawaii, and it's 4,000 feet wide, it's going to do some damage. It's going to come in. You can figure it out. Well, I could probably figure out if you give me a calculator. And then one of the things that really got me thinking is they say as it gets to the land, it gets wider. And that's kind of common sense. You know why it gets wider? Because it's experiencing resistance from the land. Energy will always take, if it's free, just free flowing energy like wind, water, will take the path of least resistance. And so energy coming into the land, it's starting to get a little bit backlash. It's going to spread out. That's why it gets wider. It's not rocket science, folks, but they love to make it sound like it is. It's not. It's common sense. That's what I mean, bang for the buck. So we're paying for all of this, and I wanted to know, of course, your accuracy of prediction will get better if you get more data, right? And we don't have tsunamis every day. So the data that they have is very sparse and very far between. I mean, the last time they talked about one was 2011 from Japan, and this is 2025, so 14 years ago. You don't get much data from there. And they talk like these sensors are, I don't know why, but I thought that they had the Pacific Ocean gridded out, grids, and that they had these sensors all over. They only have 39 sensors to cover the entire Pacific Ocean. Now I'm talking, Australia, South America, all the way up to Alaska, and the whole eastern coast of Asia. 39 sensors. You get a better chance with a dot bot than throwing it, man. Really. And and of course they'll say, well, you give us more money, we can get more sensors. But no, it's not only that. The sensors they haven't been developed yet, really. They're still experimentation. They don't give enough information. It's like you have a mercury thermometer versus a digital thermometer. Digital thermometer will cut it down to, you can go to three, four, five places. I mean, you can really get fine with it. But our sensors are like the mercury thermometer. They just measure that something happened. And even then, I don't know how they power them. If they're on the ocean floor, I'm pretty sure Energizer Bunny don't is not down there. I don't know how they power it, but it's picked up from another sensor that's sent to a computer. But it can't be too, there's all kind of problems with that kind of system. But at least something came in. But I told them they're gonna do something like this. People after a while, and they started to already. They're not gonna listen. It's like the boy that cried wolf. You keep saying this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen. They don't get their bang for the buck. Yeah, it's like you okay. You know that I do this for fun. I mean, for now for fun. But I'm really into the audio part. So one of the hobbies that I have is audio systems. Yeah, and so I watch tutorials. Because the only way, if you keep watching different tutorials or you keep watching the same one, you're gonna pick up on some things. You pick up, and they kept saying you have to, the industry standard is Mogami. Well, this is for the cable itself. It's Mogami, Canary, Belden. This is the creme de la creme. I mean, I'm pretty sure you can go more expensive, but I mean, it's pretty expensive already. And the type of connectors you use are either Neutrik or Switchcraft. Neutrik connectors can run you from $12 down for just one. Okay, and they really push that. But I looked at, you curious, right? So I bought me some. Yeah, I paid the big bucks, and I look at it, and I understand, that a connector does more than just connect the wire from point A to point B. It breaks down a lot, and the way the Neutrics are designed, they're what they call planned obsolescence. First time I ever came across that term, planned obsolescence, was when I was towing cars. And okay, you have planned breakdowns. There is an allotted percentage in the manufacturing process of an automobile that the factory will acknowledge that, yeah, you're going to have glitches, breakdowns. And at the time I was towing the one with the least, and I didn't tow European. Okay, I only towed Japanese and domestic. And the only European one that I towed was BMW, and even that one wasn't all the time because they had their own towing. Even though it was with my my group, the service manager had his own, which was great with me because I didn't like the BMW owners. I mean, one of the popular jokes that we have is, what's the difference between a cactus and a BMW? And the difference is, and I'm going to offend a lot of people, but this is the joke. So just take a joke, folk. The cactus has the pricks on the outside. Hey, I don't make the jokes. I just say them. But anyway, the Japanese cars and the American cars, they have a percentage rating. It's like, you remember when I was telling you about acceptable losses? Okay, this is acceptable breakdowns. And the one maker that had the highest, in other words, they're expecting the most, Chrysler, Jeep Chrysler. And so if you read between the lines, I mean, that's the crappiest cars. Okay, Jeep Chrysler was only followed by Ford. And I'm pretty sure they're neck and neck still yet. The one with the least was the Toyota Lexus. Really. In the 12 years that I had my towing company, I believed I towed only three Lexuses. And Lexus were just coming out. Well, Lexus is to Toyota, as Infiniti is to Nissan, as Genesis is to Hyundai. It's their luxury model. But that's how tight they made the Lexus. They used to. I don't know what it is because I've been out of towing for over 30 years. But when I was towing, that was the acceptable limit of planned of breakdowns. Now, planned obsolescence is something else. It's how long this part will last before it breaks down. It's planned to break down. And those Japanese, the Toyotas were unreal. You can have a 7-year warranty. Okay, that's 7 years. That's 84 months. Yeah, come the 90th month, the thing breaks down. Unbelievable. It's unreal. Like Chevy tried that with their timing the timing chains. They had these chains because the Japanese came out with timing belts. It's like a fan belt, but it's wider, and they use that to run the timing of your car, the opening and closing of the intake and exhaust valves with the piston going up and the fire. All of that is called the timing of the motor. Well, Chevy, they use a chain, like a bicycle chain, because it's stronger, right? The only thing is on the top, the what they call the camshaft. Okay, the camshaft opens and closes all your valves. Okay, and it runs, Well, the camshaft, the gear that attaches this steel chain to, was nylon. With the thought being, over time, the nylon's going to wear off, and it'll break. Yeah. And so, what a simple fix for that is, if you know how, you pull off your front cover and you just change the nylon with steel, like how it used to come. You never had problems with timing, but all of a sudden, they get some problems after 100,000 miles. That's why, because of these parts and these changes and everything. They put a gasket where there shouldn't be a gasket. There should be a seal, stuff like that. Yeah, that's planned obsolescence. And it goes to everything. Everything has an expiration date. Why? Because in America, there are very few makers of products that give you lifetime guarantee. Craftsman tools used to be one when Sears had them. I used to love my Craftsman tool. My screwdriver breaks. I take it down to Sears. I give it to the salesman. He gives me a new one. No questions asked. In the and I don't know how many of you would like to talk about this, but in firearms, America has a company called Sig Sauer. Sig Sauer, anything happened to the gun, you don't even need receipt. You just bring that gun into a gun shop. They will send it to the factory. If the factory can fix it, they'll fix it. If not, they'll replace it. No questions asked. Because this price is the cost of this is worked into the selling price. Of course, these products are relatively more expensive, but you're paying for that. That's bang for the buck. So I used to only use not Snap-on, excuse me, Craftsman until I found Snap-on, but I can't afford Snap-on. But Snap-on is the same way too. You get any problems with it, they'll change it for free. The only thing is you got to try find a salesman. You see these trucks going around, Snap-on, Matco. Yeah, it's all the same thing. You buy from them and it's guaranteed for life. Unfortunately, the rest of the stuff, your company cannot stay alive. You cannot, keep making money if you build stuff that lasts forever. Although we want it to, it doesn't. But I try and stretch the life of whatever I buy to the max. Like my sound system. People say, I'm overkilling because I have this mic, and this mic is very weak. Okay, it's what they call a dynamic mic. It's a Shure dynamic mic, which is a very good mic. These mics last years. You got mics 50 years old still work. So I stuck with Shure. But it goes into a mic booster. So it takes the weak signal and it boosts it up a little. From that booster, I go into a preamp. What the preamp does is, again, it boosts the signal. Okay. From the preamp, it goes into an interface. What does the interface do? It not only boosts the signal, but it changes the analog into digital. Okay, so it makes it electronic now. Then from the interface, it goes right into my camera. And in the camera, it's synchronized with the visual, so I don't have to worry about synchronizing it. It's all on an SD card. Well, people tell me that's overkill. Why do you have two preamps with a booster? I said, well, okay, the booster prepares the food. Okay, the first preamp will take it to the level that I really want it to, and the second one is the fine tuning. So the booster shapes the blade. The preamp, you know, um, sharpens the blade, and the interface hones the blade, so that what you hear coming out, and if you get any problems with it, please let me know. But what you hear coming out is when we go on the street, that's what I'm going to sound like. You know, you're not going to hear a voice like this. And I don't like that broadcast sound, that low, lot of, resonance and everything. Like, that kind of, I don't like that. I like natural. That's why went right for this. And also, when I got a preamp and an interface, neither has to work hard. Right now, I'm setting, okay, if you look at the dial like a clock, right? Both of them are at 9 o'clock. That means they're only working 25% of what they could. But they don't work hard. When they don't work hard, you don't create heat. You don't create heat, they last longer. And they're more reliable because they're not working hard. And I'll get the maximum. I may never have to buy this type of equipment again. And it's not the top of the line equipment either. I got them off Amazon. The total of this, like they have this one brand called Focusrite, okay, and it's like $150. The total of two of these is $100. Yeah, so that's 2/3 the price, and I get way better than a Focusrite, believe me, folks, or equal to. So it's bang for the buck. You gotta get value, and I'm not a skinflint. I'm just like to be efficient. I'll give you a good example of our local food bank. And we're almost done, but the local food bank this week came out saying, "Oh, we're buying our a lot of our stock. We're bringing it in from the mainland." And I was very surprised. And my wife goes, "Why are you so surprised?" I said, "I thought that's what they were doing all the time." She goes, "Well, no, you're supposed, that's local food bank. You're supposed to buy local." I told Han, the food that they're dishing out isn't perishable. It's not fresh produce. They don't have the refrigeration services. They don't deal in fresh produce unless it's donated. If a fresh produce is donated, they'll take it and they'll distribute it that day. But as a practice, you'll bring in canned goods, you'll bring in packaged goods, stuff that's less perishable. So why not buy from a West Coast distributor that can give you way cheaper, put it in a container and bring the container to Hawaii? Why go through a local distributor? All you're doing is lining his pockets. You ain't helping the people. With the money you save out of, the money you save per unit of what you purchase, you can buy more. So your buck goes farther. And she goes, "Well, you're just against local people." I said, "No, that's what it's for. It's for the local people. That's why I'm doing all of this." I assumed, and which was bad. Sorry, gang. It was bad of me to assume that's what they have been doing all this time. Not buying from the local guys, bring it in from the mainland because you want to feed the people. That's what Hawaii Food Bank's all about. But I'm so glad finally the director or CEO or whatever, she figured it out and she came on and saying, "We're going to do this." They should have been doing this for years. But anyway, yeah, that's bang for the buck. Hope you get it. And by the way, during the tsunami, I had guys in the water still swimming with their board, waiting for the wave, right? Idiots. Just. Oh. But anyway, I hope you have a great week. It's been fun. I don't know what we're going to talk about next week. I'm going to be making another video on how to clamp part 2. come to the station. It's on. It's listed with the rest of these videos. But if you're kind of interested in what it's a method that I didn't invent. It's a takeoff of I found out. I thought I'd invented it, but I didn't. You know me, right? Arrogant. Oh yeah, I did it. I can do everything. But anyway, it's the Japanese method, but I just changed it, and I think made it a little more perfect. But anyway, check it out. It's called Cam's Clamp Part 2. Or you can watch Cam's Clamp Part 1. Yeah. But anyway, I hope you guys have a great week. Stay dry and stay cool, man. It's becoming summer. It's effing hot, freaking hot. But you guys take care. And please like and subscribe and tell your friends, like as always. Just talking 24, right? Just talking 24. And all I want to say is ahui ho, malama pono. And always, from my heart to yours, aloha. Bye bye. See you next week.